Hey everyone, it's Rob here, and got some updates on the earthquakes, the eruption, Grindavik, Blue Lagoon, all of this stuff coming up. Lots to talk about, so there's going to be quite a bit of information being thrown around today. Now, Ulva Ludvigsson, the police chief in the Southern he has now advised the people of Grindavik to not stay in Grindavik in light of the land rise at Svartsengi, increased likelihood of eruption. But he's not going to go out and ban people from being in the town. And that's one of the things that he said in an interview with local news here, MBF. He said the people of Grindavik are allowed to spend the night in the town. Of course, they've been able to do that for the past couple of days, and it has been this case since Christmas. But it's his recommendation, based on all of this new information, that they don't stay in the town. But he's not going to go out and ban them from doing it. What's come to light with the land rise and the new danger assessment map that I posted about that yesterday. All of this stuff being taken into consideration. But he says the people of Grindavik, they are now responsible for themselves. They're responsible for the rules, and the access to the town is not going to be changed. And apparently there's around 30 houses or so that people have stayed in. So it depends on how many people are in each house. But he's not sure how many people are going to stay in over New Year's. But yeah, he thinks with all the latest news that's come out, it's probably best that people are not staying in the town. And of course, looking at, there's a 3D sort of interactive map that I posted a few days ago. But apparently there's about 20 to 25 houses in Grindavik that are really heavily damaged or basically condemned. They're completely useless, and assessing their condition is a priority for the insurance companies and things like that. They're looking at reconstructing 14 or so houses and plots. And if that's not permitted, then of course they're going to have to look at compensation directly to the house owners and so forth. The houses in question are almost exclusively residential houses, apparently. And the total insured value of all of these buildings is about 1.7 billion Icelandic. But they're saying that is far from the total damage cost of this, the earthquake event that happened all through November. And that's just a part of it. There's about 100 houses that are damaged that they need to look at. And there's about 200 that have already been reviewed. So they're going to be in contact with the city of Grindavik on whether repairs and reconstruction of the houses will be allowed, or if they basically have to write them off completely and just sort of start from scratch. Moving on to the Blue Lagoon. No surprise here, but the Blue Lagoon has now continued the closure, and they say until January 1st, which is a bit, it's a bit strange because it's only a couple days away, and the new danger assessment map actually extends beyond January 1st. So I was a bit surprised to see that they are going to reassess and possibly open on January 2nd. So all of the things connected to the Blue Lagoon are going to be closed. They've been closed since November because of the earthquakes. We had people fleeing the Blue Lagoon hotels at night because of the seismic activity. The Blue Lagoon. They did open up back on December 17th, but of course the day after that, the eruption began, and then they closed again on the 19th. So they were able to open up for 2 days. I'm curious at how the situation is for the people who work there, because of course, if they're not going to work, hopefully they're getting paid and compensated in some way or another. Now, we'll see what happens. But if you have something booked for the Blue Lagoon, I would guess that you're probably not going to be going on January 2nd. It's probably going to go even longer. But if you go to their website, you can get all the information. You can see here what's going to happen to your booking, and they're going to contact everyone, and then of course you can cancel. But just know that if I was to bet on it, I'm guessing that they're not going to open up on January 2nd, especially since there's an increased likelihood of an eruption. And speaking of that, we have headline news, all through Iceland, is all about this volcano and the possible eruption to happen again so soon. And we have Thorvaldur Thorason, and he's one of the biggest volcanologists in this country. He's in the news all the time. Now, he believes that with all of this information, that it's going to erupt again. And that's just sort of the same thing that's coming out of the meteorological office, same thing coming out of the volcanologists, all of the scientists and people who are evaluating the situation. They say this is all leading to an eruption somewhere between Stora Skogfell and Hagafell, and we've seen that on the assessment map exactly where that is, but it's right near the Blue Lagoon and pretty close to north of Grindavik as well. He says that this has now reached the same height as it was right before the eruption on December 18th. But of course, he's not 100% sure if it's going to start something. I mean, there's no exact science on this. But more than likely, he believes that this is going to end with, with a bang. It's going to turn into an eruption. And he's thinking now that maybe it could start as early as next week, the beginning of the new year, which is in just a couple days. So he says that if magma does reach the surface, it's going to be in that area, near Hagafell. And but he was saying that it might not necessarily be as, start with this bang that happened last time. He might be a little bit quieter and not sort of explosive, but he's also believing that it could last longer than the last eruption, which was only just a couple of days. And so he's also keeping people mindful that this could erupt with little to no notice. And this is something that's, again, the meteorological office has also said that, maybe you have 1 to 1.5 hours of notice maximum. And that's what we saw on the previous eruption. And so information coming out all the time on how things are being assessed. Now, regards to Grindavik's access to the town, we see here that the color code is still, yellow. It's orange. Little actually needs to be changed in terms of what's going on and sort of the land rise, seismic activity. Only a little bit needs to change for this to go to sort of this red assessment, or from the danger sort of assessment map of what they have. The meteorological agency, scientists, civil defense, everyone, they're all thinking about this. And the color code of the town, as we saw on the assessment map, has not changed. And they did add a little bit more in terms of increased danger, increased risk. But only a little bit, as I said, needs to change for it to be reassessed to a more dangerous color code for the zone, which would be red. They are looking at this every day. And when they're looking at the people in the town and they're looking at where the land rise is, what seismic activity has been going on, they take all that information in and build the hazard assessment map. And the one that is currently out is valid until January 5th. And they showed that although they haven't reclassified Grindavik as a more dangerous zone, they did add more information into Grindavik specifically, into that zone, suggesting that it's a more dangerous time for people to be in Grindavik. Now, we looked at the eruption that started on December 18th, and the sequence of events that happened with that is that the lava can be very fast and travel a long distance in a very short period of time. One thing that we're looking at is Hagafell, which is where they're saying that the eruption might actually occur. From that point down to Grindavik, it's only about 1,500, 1,700 meters. So it's not far at all for this lava to hit the town. So the increased chance of an eruption north of Grindavik is it's a big cause for concern, and that's why they're also looking at building fortifications around Grindavik, as you can see here. Now, what this says is it says 6 billion, and what that is the cost for building this new defensive structure around Grindavik. The first part of this fortification structure, as we can see here, is this solid line right there. And that is what's going to be basically the immediate thing that they want to look at building. It's huge. You can see the size of the town of Grindavik in the background versus this wall that they're going to build around it. Half of it's already been built. Like, it's half as big as the fortification that's already been built in Svartsengi. And so we're looking at a huge amount of work to make sure that the lava, should it come down this way, is directed, I guess, off to the sides and not into the town. Well, I'm curious if these are actually going to work. But again, looking at this, looking at the costs, we have the land rise now reaching the same heights as just before the eruption on the 18th. All signs are pointing to this is going to be another eruption very soon. And what are we going to do, or what's the people of Grindavik or the people of Iceland, the government, what are they going to do to protect both the Blue Lagoon, which they've already built defenses around, the power plant, and then, of course, the town of Grindavik. So it's very important for residents of Grindavik and the business people that they want, life back to normal, and they don't want their town to be destroyed. So we'll see. We'll see how the building goes. They're hoping to get it done very quickly because, again, this thing could erupt at any day. Looking at the seismic activity, we're seeing the same kind of thing as we've seen over the past couple of days. We have very little activity. We can see it's building up a little bit over the past couple hours. We can see here in the morning of Saturday, which is today. But not unusual at this point. But we will see at some point within a couple of days or months, they're expecting that the activity is going to increase and that from that an eruption will occur. We're seeing, again, magnitude of 2 is sort of the biggest that we're getting, and nothing really groundbreaking on this. It's just, as I said, same old, same old. You can see here the depth is varying between 2 kilometers to 7 kilometers. Most of them are around Grindavik, Krusavik, Fagsfeld, all this area that we are known is where the eruption is going to occur should it happen. So that's all the news for today. It's a lot going on. Fortifications, the Blue Lagoon, and of course, now the land rise is at the same height as it was before the last eruption. So we can expect something to happen basically any day now. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And if I missed anything, put it in the comments, because with situations like this, things are always changing. So again, thanks so much.